We've got to have, for it's so dreary not to have that certain thing called the boyfriend.
I'd almost come to the end of my 1 year in The Boyfriend, and an audition had been arranged for me with Richard Rogers. He was doing a show called Pipe Dream. So I went to sing for Rogers. I belted out my aria as loud as I could and felt that this gentleman was sitting in the darkened theatre pretty much by himself. And he came up onto the stage after I'd finished singing, and he said, "That was absolutely adequate." And I gasped, and he said, no, it was really quite wonderful. And he said, what have you been, what else have you been auditioning for? Anything else? And I said, oh, well, these gentlemen called Lerner and Lowe have asked me to audition for them too. He looked a little surprised, and then he said, well, I'm going to tell you something. If they ask you to do the show that you're going to audition for, I think you should take it.
All I want is a room somewhere far away from the cold night air, with one enormous chair. Wouldn't it be lovely?
I was on Broadway for 2 years, which was the most amazing lesson and experience of my life, because I learned a great deal of how to survive 8 performances a week. And then from Broadway, I went to London and did it for about 15 months in London also. 3¼ years later, I came out of My Fair Lady, and it felt like I suddenly saw the world in cinemascope again.
When they're beset and besieged, the folk not noblessly obliged, however do they manage to shed their weary lot? Oh, what do simple folk do? We do not.
Richard Burton was phenomenal in the show, pretty alcoholic at times, and never, ever seemed to be affected by it. He'd say to me, I'm going to play it for comedy tonight, and he'd do a long speech in the show and get the laughs. And then another night he'd say, I'm going to make the audience cry tonight. And he'd do that. Also, Rodgers and Hammerstein asked if I would do a musical version of Cinderella. They were going to go back to live television, make it an event. All the special effects, all the quick changes of pumpkins to great gold coach, or my rags to riches dress, or whatever, had to be done live and on the spot. And somebody said to me the night before we went on the air, you do realize that tomorrow probably more people will be watching this live performance than if you played in My Fair Lady for 15 years, which is not exactly what you want to be told just before you're going to go on.
For the world is full of zanies and fools who don't believe in sensible rules and won't believe what sensible people say.
We had, I think, at that time, the biggest audience that television has ever had.
Happening